Hello everyone, this is Aniket. I would like to welcome to my channel. This is where we'll be discussing some new concepts in economics and some buzzwords in these days. All the time you hear about some new words like inflation, recession, stagflation. What else? So let's start with inflation. What do you mean by inflation? Inflation means one thing. In a simplest term, inflation is increase in prices of commodity or things or even goods and services, just increase over time. I think let's go by simplest term. If I want to give an example, this is how I can explain. Okay, there are 100 eggs in the market, all right, and you have $100 in the market. That's it. Everything else is constant. So what happens to the price of eggs? $1 per one egg. What are the other factors? So let's say you have $110 in the market and same, you didn't change the commodity, which is eggs in here. So the competition or the unit price for that will automatically increase. So having excess money in the market, not having compared to the same amount of eggs in the market, is gonna cause inflation. That's it. That's the simplest way I understand inflation to begin with. I mean, there are many factors that contribute to inflation, which is like federal policies or having currency in the market or production of the goods in the market. Let's say supply and demand as well. One other example that comes in my mind is like, what happens if you have $100 in the market and there are only 90 eggs? Automatically there will be fight for that people who have more money will be willing to spend more money to get the same commodity, which is like eggs in here. I just wanted to give you one another example of like inflation. Let's say, for example, there is one item, anything, just a ball or something, which for example has costed almost like $1.50 in 1920. Same ball would cost you $10.50 in 1970, and then same ball would cost you almost $20 or $21. Don't quote me on that one, but at least that's the perspective I just want to give you. If you account all the inflation so far into account, that's the cost of the same ball without changing any quality, same quality and everything. That's the same amount of material you are going to get. So you need to be in order to gain something out of inflation or be ahead of the inflation curve, you have to either earn more or have another strategy of growing your investment or saved money into something. Savings accounts in the US are not good. I should not say that, but why am I saying it? Because interest rates on a saving account are really, really low. Coming from Indian background where there is like a significant rate I can get at least, but in India there is another story where you can have so much of high inflation. So that's another part of story. I want to discuss inflation in India and how interest rates and everything are managed in India as a separate topic. But for now, so what are the main reasons that cause inflation? Again, higher wages, having excess money in general and can cause an inflation in the market. Higher wages or lower interest rate. What does that mean? It is implied sentence here. What do you mean by lower interest rate? Once you have lower interest rate in the market, people will tend to borrow more money and buy more items with that same amount of money, and they are willing to pay more money for same number of items or goods or services. Automatically prices of that will increase. That's the simple economics. So that will cause an inflation. And supply, as we were discussing, supply chain issues as well. So the demand and supply is basic governing principle in any price or commodity, prices of commodity or even services. After the reasons of inflation, I want to cover how the inflation is measured. There are many ways of measuring inflation, but one of the indicators is prepared by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who generates data on CPI index, which is called Consumer Price Index. That is typically measured. That's how the you hear in the news. That's the index that they are talking about, and which has also a factor of urban. So CPIU, which is also measured in that way. CPIU index is that shows the consumers who purchase the certain commodities or services in a month-to-month basis, and amount of money that they spend on that each service or goods, and then that's how they plot the data and get the percentage changes in those, either increase or decrease or steady growth or whatever. Typically, the urban consumer group represents about 93%, so that's about a fair assessment of where the inflation is staying or what is going on with that. That's a survey that they do. So there are like categories what they consider for CPIU for measuring that. So the categories are food, energy, commodities, in general commodities, and services. Healthcare, rent, these are the services sectors. When they say commodities are like cars or clothes and those type of things. Not all the categories are similarly, there's like a percentage weight on each category, so depending on what category, it has its own percentage. Typically they don't, food and energy are these two categories they consider most volatile categories, and these are something that they also consider that you will, in any case, even if it's costly, even if it is low cost, you will have to buy it. Energy is something you will need it for day-to-day life, and food is also same. So they'll take care of, like they'll take out those sectors from that measurement. And the overall index is also, you will hear this name mentioned in the news as well, where they say headline CPI, which is like a overall inflation, and like CPI index, and there is a core CPI where they take out these two factors of like food or energy. After discussing what is inflation, how it is measured, what are the categories of inflation, I would like to discuss how it is managed and who has the prime responsibility of managing the inflation or higher increases in the price. Typically, the Federal Bank, which is Federal Reserve Bank of United States, in the US especially, has a responsibility bestowed by Congress of maintaining the inflation. How does Fed manages the inflation is based off of controlling the interest rates. Among the many responsibilities that Federal Reserve Bank has, the Fed, in short form that they call always in the market, you will see that term used as a Fed, has a responsibility of keeping the economy and finances stable. Typically, Fed keeps the target of 2% in the longer term, 2% inflation in the longer term. Among the many responsibilities that Fed has, it has one main responsibility is to maintain the inflation rate while keeping the job openings in the market. So they have a dual mandate that they need to follow. So they tend to keep the target as a 2% for a longer term while keeping the job openings in the market steady growth basically. So how do they do that? If you control interest rate, what does happen? So just take a quick look again with the example. If you have a higher interest rate, people tend to take less loan. Companies or people tend to take less loan. So federal fund rate is, again, I just want to just toss this concept. I don't want to go into the details. We will discuss this in further any other video. Federal fund rate is the loan rate, in a simple terms, the loan rate that bank can get the money. It's not the retailers or the people, common people. It's for the banks that the rate is decided. Once the bank is getting higher interest rate, automatically they'll transfer that cost that they're getting in a higher rate to the common people. So you'll have to take into account of all the factors. So how does that affect? If you increase the interest rate, what does that mean? If you increase the interest rate, people will not get more money. They'll still borrow the money, but they'll be more cautious while borrowing money. So what does that mean? So if you do not get more money or excess money, you won't try to use or expand your business unnecessarily or take many risks. So that's how. and Fed can adjust their interest rate every quarter. So they have an opportunity to adjust the interest rate, federal fund rate. Okay, what should we do in this case? Okay, now that we know that inflation is very high, that's a hypothetical situation in the past as a theory, but now it's a reality that there is like really high inflation. So takeaway from my side, don't quote me on this one, but my thing is like, if you have a 8%, let's say 5% plus interest inflation going in the market, that means like $100 if you had today is going to be 95 automatically without doing anything next year or next month per se or next quarter. I would do this. I would go with the bond market, which is more stable. When you have inflation, the federal fund rate goes up, there's a recession kicks in. Why? There's another phenomena. Less money in the market, there's less growth, technically, assuming all the factors are constant. So you need to be very careful. So bonds in this high inflation and very very possible recession situation, bond market are the ones which are stable, because you know for sure that it's going to return something which is you had decided. Let's say there is a bond like a 2-year bond yielding at 4%. What do you mean by that? Yielding at 4%. That means by after 2 years of fixing that amount in a government purchased bond, you will get 4% automatic return on it. You don't have to do anything else. You just have to fix that money for 2 years. That's it. I mean, you technically will have some money, or some of you won't have money. So it's a personal decision what to do in that case. Please hang on to my channel, and please like and subscribe if you like to know more about the financial terms or current happenings, what to expect in the market, or learn along the way. I'm learning these concepts. I thought of sharing this with you all. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.